Ja, guten Abend endgültigerweise. Ich begrüße Sie sehr, sehr herzlich hier im Literaturhaus zu diesem Abend mit dem Übertitel Souvenir with Edo Popović, Dorota Masłowska and Zoltán Danyi. Welcome to Literature House. It's a pleasure to have you here this evening. Herzlich willkommen. Herzlich willkommen Thomas Grob, der den Abend moderieren wird, und Mariananda Schemp, noch sitzt sie. Sie wird die deutschen Übersetzungen der Texte lesen. Und mein Name ist Isabella Voddenland und ich bin die stellvertretende Leiterin des Literaturhauses. Und wir hatten ein sehr schönes, kurzes Gespräch, gerade eben im 4. Stock in unserem Büro. When the writers came here, they were talking briefly about what they did today in Zürich. And one of them said, well, I meant to do something and then unexpectedly I started to write. So these are writers here on stage. Yeah, but usually it's a writer's house, but writers usually don't tell these things to us, so I liked it. Wie ich sagte, der Abend ist Teil einer Reihe, die sich Souvenir nennt. Es ist eine Reihe des Netzwerks der Literaturhäuser, initiiert vom Literaturhaus Stuttgart und unterstützt von der Bundeszentrale für politische Bildung, von der Ernst Klett AG und heute Abend auch von der Stiftung Landis und Gier, in der tatsächlich alle 3 Autoren des heutigen Abends als Residenzautoren zu Gast sind im Moment. Und ja, weshalb Souvenir? Ce Souvenir heißt die Erinnerung, heißt sich erinnern. Es ist aber auch ein ganz konkretes Andenken, ein Gegenstand, auf Französisch, auch auf Russisch ist das Wort Souvenir für diese kleinen Andenken, die wir von Reisen mitnehmen. Und auch darum geht es an diesen Abenden, um diese eigentlich materialisierte Erinnerung, um den Zusammenhang von Schreiben und sich erinnern und auch um die Materialität gewisser Dinge. Und es geht auch geografisch um Autorinnen aus Mittel- und Osteuropa, weil es Länder sind, in denen auch Erinnern, eine aktive Erinnerungskultur sehr, sehr wichtig sind und in denen das Erinnern oft auch um komplexe historische Zusammenhänge kreist. Und es geht aber auch um die Bücher, die unsere Gäste alle vor kurzem veröffentlicht haben. Sie sehen, es ist ein sehr, sehr dichtes Programm für heute Abend. Und die kommen noch. Wir sind auch ein bisschen spontan, aber es wird alles gut gelingen. Und Thomas Grob wird die Gäste gleich noch genauer vorstellen. Thomas Grob ist Professor für Slawistik, er ist Vizerektor Lehre an der Universität Basel und das slawische Seminar dort hat gestern 100 Jahre seines Bestehens gefeiert mit dem tollen Titel 100 Jahre Polyglossie, Poesie und Polemik. Herzlichen Glückwunsch. Und nun freue ich mich sehr auf all das, was uns erwartet und wünsche euch und uns allen einen schönen Abend.
Okay. Thank you very much, Isabel. Guten Abend. I'm very glad. I was very much looking forward to this evening because we met once in Basel. I remember at least we never met. So it's for me as well as I think for many of you it's very interesting to have you together actually, which is a bit a special situation because it's less time for one author, but it's more time for conversation and for exchange. The setting you're giving us is not so simple because we have 3 authors, 3 books. I'm going to show you afterwards because it's not a stands not very good. Very well, but everybody of you has a new German book actually published last year or even this year. I got your book, Danyi, a week ago, I think. So it's very fresh. The books are very much different, as you will see and hear. They're different in plots, in topics, in motives, in style, in the way they are narrated, and maybe we are going to find some points where they meet, where they have find some contact. So we are here, 3 of you, me and Mariananda Schwemp here. She will come to read you to excerpt some from the three texts to give you an acoustic, impression of these three novels. I can't see the objects you brought with you, but I hope that we are going to see them. I have no idea what it is, because the task was to bring something which has to do with memory on the one side, with own memories, and with writing, of course, on the other. So we will see what's going to happen in this on this level. So we have the Rosenroman of Zoltán Danyi. I hope it helps for a moment. We have the Edo Popović's Mondmeridian, maybe, okay. And we have Dorota Masłowska's Bowie in Warsaw with this very nice cover picture of David Bowie. And I just said in advance not to forget it. You are very lucky with your translators, because all these novels are really extremely made by the translations are made by extremely experienced and skillful and sensitive translators. It's Terézia Mora from the Hungarian, and Olaf Kühl from the Polish, and Alida Bremer from the Croatian. It's really very nice to read you in German, actually. So, I mean, it's not always in the same way the case. Okay, we have Bowie in Warsaw, we have the Rosenroman, we have the Mondmeridian. We, as announced before, we have these conversations in English because it's a kind of the common Slavic language now is English. That's what especially in Switzerland, but not only. But I heard that you are speaking to each other in English as well. So it's quite clear that it's. It was different 30 years ago.
No. We speak in Croatian.
Okay. But no, I heard just Dorota and Edo.
We speak Serbian, I speak Croatian, and we understand each other.
He's quite good in German, actually. That's what we had already this mixed conversation in German, English somewhere. That's very, very nice, and it's a very good baseline, I think, for this evening, because. It's an evening where everybody is a little bit a stranger here. I'm a stranger because my English is not made for this, actually, and you're a stranger. You're not in your language where you're in which you are writing or speaking at home, and you are not in the language you're used to listen to in the Literaturhaus, which is a German Literaturhaus, of course, actually, more than all. But it makes it a bit equal, I think. Among us, which is very, very nice, and which brings me a little bit to the first question. I wanted to ask a question first, all of you, because it is a very silly question. It's a question I hate usually because it is very journalistic and usually very silly. But in this case, I really would be interested. You all are at the moment in Zug, in a residence by the Landesamt Gier. Foundation, so you met already, and your different time. You're already in Switzerland, different period, and this question is, what's the feeling you had since you came to Switzerland? In Switzerland, how much you feel as a stranger? How much you meet things or moments where you think it's a bit like at home, it's familiar to me. What did you meet where you thought that you felt a bit uncomfortable, maybe, and so on? What was your impressions of this stay in Switzerland?
It's a dangerous question because it can take us hours to talk about it. But I think it's a very interesting moment for us as well. Because for the first time we sit to each other, next to each other as writers, because usually we are neighbors, and all of a sudden we are here professionally. So half professionally.
Okay, half professional.
But I think that's we spend a lot of time together, but rather eating and drinking. Talking about the subject you touched, and we spent hours talking about this one thing, how we feel in Switzerland and how different it is from our normal circumstances. It is very, very different from mine.
But can you make one point how it is for you?
My first association was that I feel like in an advertisement of chocolate or cheese, because this paysage seems so beautiful, but also fairy tale and naive and unexisting in my country. So it seemed very exotic, and actually I had this feeling that I didn't suspect that such a country exists. It was so bizarre for me.
It was a very famous exhibition, very critically met in Switzerland, which was called La Suisse n'existe pas. Switzerland does not exist,
Yeah,
so that's
so
not a
I
clear
invented
question.
it. I invented this exhibition once again.
Okay, Zoltán maybe.
I felt a bit strange for a couple of days, and that's because maybe I was a bit tired because I had traveled a lot and I had 3 readings before I arrived. So maybe I was a bit tired, but I felt for 2 or 3 days that I'm out of place somehow. That's you rightly said that we are strangers. I felt that I'm a stranger, and I've been into Berlin a couple of times, and I feel at home in Berlin. But that's because, as we discussed with Ilma, it's because Ilma Rakusa, that's the reason is that Berlin is a wounded town, and the place where I come from is also a wounded country, a wounded place, and that's where I can resonate really good with Berlin. I feel at home there, totally. And in Switzerland, I've had some difficulties because it's close. It's not perfect, but it's close. It's very close sometimes. And I used to be perfectionist. Maybe I'm not that more anymore, but some perfectionism is still there in me. At least this is what I thought. But coming to Switzerland, I thought, no, that's not enough. My perfectionism is not enough. And then Uschi Jones helped me, who is at the Stiftung.
To be a more radical perfectionist.
No. She helped me. She told me to go to swim in the lake, and I went swimming. And after that, I felt that I have arrived and I'm home. And there was one moment which I would like to tell you, that we took a nice walk. I'm the first time in Zürich now, and we took a nice walk with Ilma an hour ago, and she showed me the old town, which is nice, but that's not the point. The point is that at one corner, I don't know how, I just spotted a certain place, a corner with a shop and with trees on the corner, and maybe the light conditions were something to add to it, but I felt that this is the place where I was born, or where I lived when I was young, 7 or 6 years old. That's before the war. So that's what I felt, that, I can relate to this place very much so, because before the war, I had the same experience, that everything is normal, and everything is, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's functioning. And that's where I can attach to Switzerland. That's where I can connect to it, rather.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't know what to say. I feel, at the same time, I feel like home everywhere and nowhere. A long time I have wearied one badge which says Ausländer fast überall. That is, I think, a good position. But when I must answer on your question, then I feel good here, really. I feel good. It took me a couple of days just to accept the fact that normal things can be normal. That is very often that I don't have that feeling back in Croatia, because everything is upside down. But here, really, I feel good. I like the water here. That's first what I... Really, the rivers and the brunnen, the fountains, they're all everywhere. I first met it in Zug. I don't know how many are there. Then in Luzern, I read that there are more than 200 brunnen around. I like to drink the water, which belongs to everybody. That is the. I don't have to buy a glass of water or something in the supermarket. And then the rivers, really. I was walking. I'm a walker. I went up in the mountains. I like your mountains, of course. I feel if there is a place that I feel like home, those are the mountains. Those are the nature, wilderness. You don't have pretty much wilderness here. We in Croatia, we have it, in the Velebit. It's a mountain, Croatian mountain. There are a lot of wild animals there. It is not tamed as much as the Alps here are tamed, but the scenery here is really beautiful. And that is what when I think of Switzerland, I think of the walking and the water.
Okay. It's true that many things which are great in Switzerland, we're not responsible for it, for the mountains and the rivers and so on.
Yeah, of course. For the
But
brunnen.
they're nice anyway, so I like
But it's very interesting what you said about the water that belongs to everyone. It's beautiful. I have the same thing with air here. Like I felt, because Warsaw, where I live, is a very polluted city with a huge smog. And I didn't realize how devastating it is. And then I came here, and I have this feeling that my lungs became almost some additional sense. They became sensual, and the air seems just sweet to me. Like it's almost erotic feeling, breathing here.
Okay, I see nature is saving us. It's very nice of you. Thank you very much. So, being a stranger, not a stranger, being at home has to do with identity, and identity has, of course, to do with memories, and conscious ones and not conscious ones, and so that's a bit, the line we're going along for this conversation. I would suggest that we start with Zoltán. We take you as the youngest and as the lady in the in the circle in the middle, and come to Edo at the end. And is it okay for you? Fine. Zoltán was studying, you correct me if I read some things which are not really true, philosophy and literature in Novi Sad and in Szeged. So he's coming from two languages actually, from Serbia, but from the Hungarian minority in the north of Serbia, in the Vojvodina. You started publishing short stories, poems already 20 years ago or something. You even have a PhD in literature, so you're an academic person as well. You were teaching at the university, you were working as an editor, and the first German novel, which I missed totally, I must say, was the Cadaver Räume. It's everything is on the table here from the.
It's a poetic title.
Yeah. Huh?
Very poetic title.
Okay, so you still live in Vojvodina, in the northern Banat, I think, in center?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Bachko, it's Bachko, not Banat, Bachko part.
But is where the Hungarian minority is not a minority in center, or could you imagine this situation?
Well, it's a bit complicated. If you would like to talk about this, then it's
Could a bit closer to the microphone?
Okay, the center is close to the Hungarian border. It's a small town. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
It's a small town close to the Hungarian border, and it's a strange situation because we are in minority in the country, but we are in the majority in the town. Mm-hmm. At least theoretically.
And it's close to Romania as well, so
It's close to Romania as well, not far away from Croatia and Bosnia, so it's really in a very mixed place.
Okay.
Which is good.
Your German publishing house is giving us the information about you, for example, that you are a rose grower as well. And the title of your novel in German is Rosenroman. Is this a novel about a rose grower, or maybe more exactly about the son of a rose grower, which is partly a rose grower as well? And I just can say that it is an absolutely beautifully written book. It is a beautifully translated book, and it is not always a light and cheerful book to read, but it has this strange, for me, comforting, consoling. You know, this narrating has a very, very good tone to be in it, and to feel comfortable with it, even when the things which we are told are not nice always. So that was my impression, just to read it. And this rose grower, maybe we speak about him afterwards, after the first reading, is a very special person. He's a very nice person, not doing any harm to anybody, but he's a bit a maniac in some terms. He has this obsession with numbers. He has this obsession with rules he's giving to himself, just to feel better, to I don't know, maybe just to trying to take control over his own life or something, because he thinks that lucky things could happen when he does not follow his own rules. So he invented them himself, and that's a bit the beginning. Because miteinander, if you could maybe afterwards coming to the first reading.
I'm very eager to start reading, but I wanted to ask if Zoltán is going to read himself.
Yes, of course, but I was just. No. I was about to say that we're going to come to the reading. Say, yeah, of course he will. And yes, so we read something from the beginning. You read a part in Hungarian. So because you're writing only in Hungarian, you're publishing in Hungary. I forgot to say that. Right. And some of us maybe will understand something, except Ilma.
She speaks Hungarian.
She is.
I didn't know that.
Oh. She translated a lot. Yes, please.
A virágüzletek nevére már nem nagyon emlékszek. Nem mintha olyan bonyolult vagy összetett nevek lettek volna, hiszen a virágüzleteket rendszerint egy virágról vagy egy dísznövényről nevezik el, vagy ha nem virágról és nem dísznövényről, akkor valamilyen női nevet adnak nekik. Például a tulajdonos lányának a nevét. Szóval lehetett köztük egy pálma, egy olga, egy mimóza, de az is lehet, hogy éppen azért felejtettem el őket, mert ilyen egyszerű neveik voltak. Az egyszerű dolgokat ugyanis könnyebben elfelejtem. Habár ez sem egészen igaz, mivel attól kezdve, hogy fuvarozó lettem, lassan a rózsák nevét is elfelejtettem. Pedig a rózsanevek rendszerint bonyolultabbak, némelyiknek olyan a hangzása, mint egy régi nemesi családnév volna. Ilyen az Ilsekron Superior, vagy a Scarlett Meandekor, és még sok hasonlót lehetne mondani, de most nem jut több név az eszembe. Illetve eszembe jutott még kettő, de ezek egyszerűbb nevek, mivel a rózsanevek között is vannak egyszerűbbek. Ilyen a kardinál vagy a flamingó, melyek egyébként a színükről kapták a nevüket. Jó lehet, az elnevezés egyik esetben sem pontos, mivel a kardinál színe sötétebb, mint a papok ruhája, a flamingó színe pedig halványabb, mint annak az idétlen madárnak a tolla, melyről ez a rózsa nevét kapta. A flamingó színe inkább olyan, mintha a flamingó tollát feloldanánk egy csésze tejben.
Oké.
Hören Sie mich gut? Ja. Das war die einzige Sache, die ich im Zusammenhang mit den Rosen mochte. Denn an diesen Tagen musste ich nicht auf dem Feld arbeiten, obwohl es auch im Auto warm war und ich schwitzte, als würde ich auf dem Feld arbeiten. Aber damals zog ich das Schwitzen im Auto, dem Schwitzen in der Hocke zwischen den Rosen vor. Vielleicht bin ich deswegen Kraftfahrer geworden und nicht Rosenzüchter. Ich weiß nicht, vor 20 oder 25 Jahren, jedenfalls während des Krieges, arbeitete ich noch mit meinem Vater zusammen. Und im Allgemeinen fingen wir bei Sonnenuntergang an, die Rosen zu schneiden, wenn die Hitze nachließ. Denn hätten wir sie eher geschnitten, wären sie bis zum nächsten Tag verwelkt gewesen. Aber wenn wir sie bei Sonnenuntergang pflückten und sie bis zum frühen Morgen, bis zum Hals in kaltes Wasser stellten, dann blieben sie eine Woche lang frisch. Das haben wir ausgetestet. Und da es nach Sonnenuntergang sehr schnell dunkel wurde, mussten wir uns beeilen, so viele Blumen wie möglich zu pflücken. Und mein Vater beeilte sich wirklich. Ich hörte, dass seine Schere mindestens 2-mal so schnell klapperte wie meine. Und manchmal rief er nach hinten, beeil dich, mein Junge, beeil dich. Aber ich beeilte mich nicht besonders, denn ich wusste, egal wie schnell ich die Rosen schneiden würde, früh morgens werden wir sowieso wieder herauskommen müssen, denn es gelang uns nie, bei Sonnenuntergang so viele Rosen zu schneiden, wie wir für den nächsten Tag brauchten. Sobald es dunkel war, hörten wir auf, die Rosen zu schneiden. Wir stellten sie in Eimer voller Wasser. Die Eimer stellten wir in eine in die Jahre gekommene Kühltruhe, die kaum mehr kühlte, aber um die Rosen bis zum Morgen kühl zu halten, reichte es noch. Und am nächsten Morgen, in aller Herrgottsfrühe, gingen wir wieder hinaus, um den Rest zu pflücken. Und natürlich musste man sich wieder beeilen, denn die Sonne stieg schnell und nach 7 war es schon zu heiß, um die Rosen zu schneiden. Ich hörte, dass die Schere meines Vaters wieder schneller klapperte als meine. Aber ich beeilte mich nicht besonders, denn ich bereitete mich gedanklich bereits auf den Weg vor. Und als wir mit dem Pflücken fertig waren, folgte das Sortieren und das Packen. Wir sortierten die Rosen erst nach Farbe und Länge, dann banden wir immer 100 zusammen. Die Bündel stellten wir in mit Wasser gefüllte Eimer, die Eimer packten wir dann in den Kofferraum und zuletzt warf mein Vater zum Schutz seiner Rosen noch eine Handvoll Eis in jeden Eimer. Und als wir mit allem fertig waren, konnte ich endlich los. Und das war für mich das Beste am Ganzen, den Läden in Sabatka die Blumen zu bringen. Ich flitzte mit dem Golf meines Vaters mit 120 Sachen über den Tornioser Weg, obwohl ich auch damals schon die Regeln im Kopf hatte und gewisse Dinge zählen musste. Manchmal zählte ich die ununterbrochenen Linien in der Mitte der Straße, ein anderes Mal die Kurven oder die Verkehrsschilder. Wieder ein anderes Mal zählte ich die Traktoren, die Autos oder die LKWs, denen ich unterwegs begegnete. Bei einer Gelegenheit hätte ich die Radfahrer zählen sollen, weil ich gerne wissen wollte, wie lange der Krieg noch dauern würde. Und die Regel war, dass er noch genauso viele Jahre dauern würde, wie ich Fahrrädern auf dem Tornioser Weg begegnete. Ich fing also an, Radfahrer zu beobachten. Die mir entgegenkamen und auch die in meine Richtung fuhren, weil ich alle hätte zählen sollen. Und ich fuhr natürlich langsam, denn wenn ich eine Aufgabe hatte, dann konzentrierte ich mich darauf und fuhr nicht schnell. Es sei denn, die Aufgabe war, auch das kam ja vor, dass ich bis zu dieser oder jener Verkehrstafel, bis zu dieser oder jener Kurve oder bis zu dieser oder jener Straßenkreuzung mit 120 oder 130 oder 140 brettern musste. Aber darum ging es jetzt nicht, sondern nur darum, dass ich gerne wissen wollte, wie lange der Krieg noch dauern würde. Und deswegen fuhr ich langsam und hielt nach Radfahrern Ausschau. Aber vergebens schaute ich aufmerksam, vergebens riss ich die Augen auf. An jenem Morgen traf ich keinen einzigen. Dabei war Sommer, klarer Himmel, strahlender Sonnenschein. Trotzdem sah ich auf dem Tornioser Weg keinen einzigen Radfahrer. Während wir die Blumen pflückten, sammelte mein Vater Steine in seinen Taschen. Kleinere oder größere Steine fand man nämlich immer zwischen den Rosen. Und beim Hacken, dem Fräsen oder dem Pflügen beförderte die Hacke, die Fräse oder der Pflug immer neue Steine und Tonscherben aus der Erde hervor. Mein Vater sammelte sie ein und steckte sie sich in die Taschen, sodass seine Jacke während des Blumenpflückens von Steinen und Scherben immer tiefer nach unten gezogen wurde. Er sammelte die Steine nicht nur während des Pflückens, sondern auch beim Gießen, wenn wir die langen Aluminiumrohre aus dem Schuppen holten und aufs Feld brachten. Was das anbelangt, füllte er viele Löcher und Absenkungen mit diesen Steinen auf, denn er sammelte sie genauso während anderer Arbeiten, wenn wir die Rosen zurückschnitten, wenn wir die Wildtriebe entfernten oder Unkraut jäteten. Denn es war ihm wichtig, dass er die Steine von seinem Feld aufhob. Und er hatte die Geduld dafür, die Löcher und Absenkungen auf dem Feldweg mit ihnen aufzufüllen. An den Namen der Blumengeschäfte erinnerte ich mich nicht mehr gut. Nicht, weil sie so komplex oder kompliziert gewesen wären. Blumengeschäfte werden meist nach einer Blume oder einer Zierpflanze benannt. Oder wenn nicht nach einer Blume oder einer Zierpflanze, dann bekommen sie einen Frauennamen. zum Beispiel den Namen der Tochter des Besitzers. Es konnte also eine Pamela, eine Olga oder eine Mimosa sein. Und es kann sein, dass ich die Namen deswegen vergessen habe, weil sie so einfach waren. Die einfachen Dinge vergesse ich nämlich leichter, obwohl auch das nicht ganz richtig ist. Denn seit ich Kraftfahrer geworden war, vergaß ich allmählich auch die Namen der Rosen. Dabei sind Rosennamen meist komplizierte. Manche klingen wie die Namen einer alten Adelsgeschlechts, wie die Ilse Kron Superior oder die Scarlett Melan de Cor, und man könnte noch viele ähnliche nennen. Aber mehr Namen fallen mir gerade nicht ein. Das heißt, mir sind noch 2 eingefallen. Aber das sind einfachere Namen. Denn auch unter den Rosennamen gibt es einfachere, wie die Kardinal oder die Flamingo, die ihre Namen nach ihrer Farbe bekommen haben, wenngleich die Farbe der Kardinal dunkler ist als die der Kleidung der Geistlichen und die Farbe der Flamingo blasser als die des Gefieders jener albernen Vögel, nach denen diese Rose benannt ist. Die Farbe der Flamingo ist eher so, als hätte man eine Flamingofeder in Milch aufgelöst. Aber ich wollte jetzt nicht über die Farben reden, sondern über die Namen. Und ich wollte nur so viel sagen, dass ich, als ich am Fenster stand und darauf wartete, dass die Sonne unterging, vergebens meinen Verstand bemühte. Mir fielen einfach keine weiteren Rosennamen ein. Die Lage wäre natürlich eine andere gewesen, wenn in meinem Kopf eine Regel aufgetaucht wäre, dass ich innerhalb einer so und so lange Zeitspanne so und so viele Rosennamen hätte aufzählen müssen. Dann wären mir bestimmt noch welche eingefallen. Denn in jenem Sommer, als ich 2-mal die Woche Schnittblumen an die Blumenläden in Sabatka lieferte, musste ich den Namen einer jeden Rose auswendig können. Und diese Namen gibt es noch. Diese mit Licht vollgesogenen Namen gibt es ganz bestimmt noch irgendwo in mir.
Zoltán, this person is narrating the whole novel. We don't know anything about him, but he's telling his story and he's trying to say something. Isn't it a bit dangerous to have a person telling the whole story with so strange disease? Is such a exact observer of the whole world, but of his own body as well, and so on. And he's a rose grower. You are a rose grower. Is it a certain risk to be mixed up with the character you invented yourself?
It's very dangerous. Yes. You are, I think, on the right way. It was dangerous to choose a topic like this. But I felt that I didn't have really any options. That's what I felt. Sorry, it's a bit. Maybe I can take it like this. So it was, of course, I felt that there's danger. I also realized the risks. But to tell you honestly, when I write, and as I grow older and older, writing becomes more and more something which I wouldn't like to lie. I just try to avoid telling lies as much as I can. And when I was writing my first novel, which is about the war, I felt that I love literature, but most of it was lying, at least compared to what happened in the war. And Sometimes that was difficult too, because I felt that I don't really have literature to follow, and I have to do something which maybe I'm the first to do, which is not a problem. The problem is that there's a risk that if you do something which is unique, in a way, it could be some form which is unreadable in a sense, and that was the first novel. With the second novel, which is the Rosenroman, the problem was a little bit different. The problem was that so I like to write, but writing sometimes is suffering, and I don't like to suffer. But still, writing is more important, and in order to write, I bear the suffering which it goes with. And also, I accept when I find that. So, for me, the most difficult part of it is to find the right language, the right tone, and the right way of telling. And the story is secondary, or it's not so important as finding the language. And when I find the language, then the story comes naturally. But probably this is why I find sometimes very difficult to find the right tone, the right way of telling a story, because I know that there's a risk. If I don't find the right language, then I will not be able to tell the story. And sometimes I don't really know what the story is, what I want to say. In this case, I had only an idea that I'm going to write about roses, but I didn't have any clue how to write about it, what to write about roses, and that it took a lot of efforts and trials and errors, and that's where I use my technique of improvisation. I write and write and write, and sometimes I have to throw away what I write. I have to delete it or forget it. But there is a chance that I will find in the end the proper tone. And this is also sometimes hard to bear. But this time I was lucky because in about 2 years of trials, I managed to find the right way, the right language. And in this language, then I just had to follow the language, and I just had to keep up with this language. And then the stories which came were strange to me as well, and this is where I agree with you. It's a risky thing to do, but I had to accept it, that I'm writing about roses. I want to write about roses, but all these things come together with roses in my case.
Maybe approaching a bit the subject of remembrance, of memories. There's not so many people in this novel, not so many people we meet very, very closely, but there is kind of a background of the presence of memories coming, not very directly focused on, but they're coming all the time, and they're almost every time they're connected to war. And so would you say it is a bit, it is in part not only about roses and this man living his crises and coping with his crises, but it's a novel about living with memories as well?
Yeah, very much so. Memory absolutely plays a big role, but it's not just in the case of this novel. Memory, I think, plays a big role in any literature, in any prose at least. Maybe not the poetry is different, but in prose, memory is absolutely crucial, because you almost always write in past tense, and that means your memories. And once I tried to write a story, and that was after the Rosenroman, I decided to write a novel in present tense. Everything must be in present tense, which is quite crazy to say something like that. But I decided I will write in the present tense, and I did it. And I was trying to do that for months, because I thought maybe it's difficult, but it will work, and I have to try and go on. And I went on doing it for months, but in the end, I just found out it doesn't work. It's not good. You can make it, but it's not good, and it would be, again, what I said. It would be a lie, and I don't want to do lies. So I have to switch back again to past tense, and maybe to play with it sometimes. You can play with that. You can play with the form, if the form allows. So my task as a writer is to focus on. Focus is not the right word, but yeah, to pay attention to. Yeah, that's better. To pay attention to the form which I found and which I want to create, because the form will tell me what can I do with it and what's not true.
Okay. I have no idea. Did you bring us an object, a souvenir, with you?
Yeah, I brought 2 objects.
Okay, go ahead.
You can choose. Maybe I can put in my hands and choose which one to. So yeah, I took one. How do you call this key chain? Is it the right English word for where you put your keys. That's from Brussels. This is the little guy who is pissing in Brussels. So, and it plays a role in the novel, but I didn't know it would play a role in the novel at all. But when I was in Brussels visiting a friend, I bought this, and actually it was difficult to find a nice one, because you can find very ugly little pissing guys, because it's cheap, maybe China made, or who knows, but it's not good. It's difficult to find a good quality pissing guy. So and this one is a good quality. And I kept it on my desk while I was. But I kept it on my desk for years. And in the end of the novel, you will meet this little sculpture. I mean, the main character finds this little sculpture in Brussels, and this is why I brought this small guy. And this is the original.
And I promise you, reading the book, you will remember this small thing.
Yeah, probably. And the other one is a postcard of Gerhard Richter's build, which is Die Rosen. It's a nice poetic title. It's really poetic now. And this one is it's a postcard which I don't remember if I got it from someone as a present or I bought it for myself. I'm not sure anymore, because I was, again, many years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, maybe more, I don't know. And I kept this not on my desk, but on my bookshelf, this picture. And it's because there's many reasons why I kept it there. But when I was writing, already for 2 or 3 years, I was writing the Rosenroman, and as I told you, or at least I tried to tell you, it was difficult to answer your first question, sorry. But I tried to tell you that it took a lot until I found the right language. So after 2 or 3 years of writing, maybe more, 3 or 4 years of writing, I still wasn't sure that I will be able to write this book. I have many doubts, even up to the last chapter. I was really in doubts. And once, as I said, after 4 years of writing, I went to my bookshelf, and I stood in front of this picture, and I thought to myself, okay, if this is going to be a book once, who knows, but maybe if it's going to be a book, then maybe this will be this could be a nice cover for it. And I tried to figure out how to make it a cover, maybe to hide this part or to hide this part. So that was what I was doing, and that was, of course, very, very unrealistic again, because Richter is, at least as far as I know, he's one of the most expensive painters, artists. So that was, again, something very unrealistic to think that his painting will be on the cover of my novel. But it wasn't much unrealistic than that I will be able to finish it. So it was like that.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very nice souvenirs, and I think many people will be very happy that you were able to finish the book and to finish the book in this way, in the way you did it. It's a wonderful book, actually. Okay, we will keep in mind your the art and the touristic souvenir, which really plays a great role in the novel. And we're so short in time, actually. Dorota, please. You're not only the youngest here. You're the person with the youngest image here since then, because that's a bit your, the label you got with your first novel, and because I think you were 18 when you published your first novel. The first year was a huge success. In German, the book is called Schneeweiß and Rosenrot. I can't remember the Polish title, actually.
Polish title?
Yeah.
Wojna polsko-ruska.
The Wojna, yeah, it was a bit different because of this war subject. Your work is translated since then in many languages. And you have this image of this young, fast and furious, young, fast and dirty a little bit too, because you're using all these slangs, all these characters on the edge a bit of society, of the subculture, and so on.
Yes, my only remark is that I'm not that young anymore. And when I was listening to Zoltán and looking at his roses, I felt so crude, really, that I don't belong here even more, because I like everything. What I write is so brutal and cruel and vulgar sometimes, but it's okay. I'm accepted. I'm accepted at least by Edo. So.
Okay. I mean, it's a bit different. You're playing as well. You're not writing pop literature, but you're playing, of course, with this kind of styles as well, which found this huge reading auditory and audience, and that's it's very special. I think in Polish literature, it was quite you have a place which is the place for you and only for you, which is very great and very nice. This book here is Bowie in Warsaw. It's a bit, in some way, it's a misleading title, as you know, if you're playing with us as well a bit, because we all expect this Bowie.
Typical catchy title.
Yes, but the most irritating thing at the first glance is that it's difficult to say whether it is a play, a theatre play, or it is a prose. What is it for you, actually?
I think it's a question of this German translation, because maybe even not the translation, but edition, because surprisingly for me, it is published as a roman and as a novel, and in Poland it's a theatre piece.
Ah, okay.
So, but theatre piece with long aspects of prose. So I think that's why it was considered a novel by German publisher. It seemed to be a novel, but in Polish version, it's obvious that it's a play.
Okay,
it was
I
written
think they
for
just thought that
commission.
it's easier to sell it in as a novel than as
Yeah.
a play.
Yeah, I didn't want to say
but
that.
It is a mixture of form. That's you would agree that, because it had long explanations.
Yeah, because I wanted to be readable. Like I didn't want it to be only put on stage, but also I wanted to make it something to read by readers.
Okay, but was it on stage, or will it?
Yes,
be on stage?
yes, it was, and it was staged in Warsaw and at the moment also in Chicago.
Okay. So it is a very. It's not possible to tell this story as a story, because it lives from this, these scenes which are very visual and very theatrical, and the situation is easy. David Bowie is coming from Moscow on his way to Berlin. He drank too much in Moscow and had this strange encounter, so he's in a strange mood, and which seems to be historically
yes, I think it's important to mention that it's a true story.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy.
Yeah, but not everything is a true story.
No. It's my fantasy based on this true, very short story about David Bowie coming to Warsaw for 4 hours. No. 40 minutes in 70s. So
it's the 70s. That's important to say.
Yes.
He is not so famous as it was before, because what happens with people seeing him is not exactly that he's because he's Bowie, because it's the mechanism is a different one, but he is. He's producing chaos with different persons, families, and consolation, and so on, and everything is turning out to be a chaos at the end of it. But it's showing off, of course, the conflicts which are real without him. But he's the the moment where everything explodes in some way. Why did you choose these 70s to show these scenes?
This idea of mine is quite old because I figured it out maybe 10 or 15 years ago when I was asked by Warsaw Museum of Warsaw Uprising to write commissioned play for them. I didn't succeed because it occurred too difficult for me to write a play about Warsaw, but this is when I thought that the only perspective that seems to make sense for me is a perspective of a stranger on the city. So I fought and fought and fought, and I realized that this story about David Bowie coming to Warsaw in 70s for 40 minutes, completely, I think this story is very boring because he just goes out of a train and goes to some bookstore and buys an album. It's an album of Polish folk music, not even genuine folk music, but a fake one by some national orchestra, made by some national orchestra. So this is not, not a lot of twists in this story. But I thought there is something in it. There is something that makes my head boil. And when a couple of years ago, some Warsaw theater asked me to write a play about this, I thought that I could use this idea. And I thought that this 70s are tricky because they are not trendy anymore. Like there is no reason to evoke this time anymore. But at the same time, I thought that there is something interesting about some very, how to say that, how to put that to words, Polish mind, Polish mentality in a very natural setting. And the language I decided to use, because as Zoltán said, language is my basic material and my basic medium. So I started to read bulk amounts of Class B literature, like criminal novels, novels for women, the whole bad literature that existed in this time. And it was full of fake slang, full of this very masculine narrative, very misogynic. And this is something I discovered. The whole, the frightening amounts of misogyny and very hidden Catholic mindset, maybe not even hidden, maybe very open, very traditional, very conservative, and very anti-feminine.
May I suggest that we listen to a part of it? You're reading in
Yes.
Polish, a few lines.
A very short one, just for the
Please.
sound of it.
Please.
I'm sorry that I'm speaking so slowly, but it's not easy to explain what I did. Lata 70. Znany muzyk David Bowie wraca pociągiem z Moskwy do Berlina. Wielogodzinna podróż dłuży się. W myślach układa nuty, frazy na nową płytę. To musi być coś wyjątkowego, coś, co zrewolucjonizuje muzykę światową. Co z tego, gdy impas twórczy nie ustępuje? Podróż do Moskwy miała to zmienić. Gwiazdor nie czuł się jednak do końca usatysfakcjonowany swym tam pobytem. Baletnica Masza, z którą zadzierzgnął taki sobie niby romans, nastręczała mu się o nic nie żywiąc urazy. Niemożliwa do spławienia, we wszystkim chciała z nim być, wszędzie mu towarzyszyć, w muzeum i w operze. Poza tym zbyt wiele się tam piło. Pożegnalną wódkę, ostrą jak płynne żyletki, którą gulnął z Maszą na dworcu pośród jej wilgotnych, histerycznych pocałunków, szorstkich od czarnej farby do włosów i dzikiego, owczego zaduchu jej kożucha, wciąż jeszcze czuł gdzieś w skroniach.
Wow. Dziękuję bardzo.
Teil 1. Erstes Kapitel. Die 70er Jahre. Der bekannte Musiker David Bowie sitzt im Zug von Moskau zurück nach Berlin. Die stundenlange Reise zieht sich hin. Im Geiste komponiert er, dichtet Songtexte für die neue Platte. Es muss etwas ganz Außergewöhnliches werden. Etwas, das die Weltmusik revolutioniert. Doch was hilft es? Die kreative Blockade will nicht weichen. Dagegen hatte die Moskau-Reise helfen sollen. Der Star war jedoch nicht recht zufrieden mit seinem Aufenthalt dort. Balletttänzerin Mascha, mit der er eine Art Affäre begonnen hatte, schmiss sich an ihn ran, steckte alles klaglos ein, nicht abzuwimmeln, wollte überall bei ihm sein, ihn überall begleiten, ins Museum und in die Oper. Außerdem wurde dort zu viel getrunken. Den Abschiedswodka, scharf wie flüssige Rasierklingen, auf dem Bahnhof mit Mascha gekippt, spürt er noch immer irgendwo in den Schläfen. Dazu ihre feuchten, hysterischen Küsse, das kratzig schwarz gefärbte Haar und den Schafsmief ihrer Felljacke. Sie gab ihm 4 hart gekochte Eier mit auf die Reise. Aus lauter Langeweile pellt er jedes einzelne. Und jedes Mal erfüllt erneut ein intimer Schwefelgestank das Abteil. Niemand regt sich groß darüber auf. Derweil fährt der Zug schon durch Polen, noch so ein Land. Er hat davon gehört. Seufzend zieht er seine neueste Erwerbung hervor, einen der neuen Taschenrechner, die zu dieser Zeit im Westen in Mode sind, zum Erstaunen der Mitreisenden, die diese Erfindung nicht kennen und gaffen wie Kinder vor dem Schaufenster des Spielwarengeschäfts. Um die Zeit totzuschlagen, beginnt er schläfrig zu rechnen. 888.374 plus 2.842.840 minus 2.929.087. Das Ergebnis kümmert ihn gar nicht. Er tippt immer neue Additionen und Divisionen ein, nur aus Spaß daran, immer größere und größere, immer seltsamere Zahlenwerte einzugeben, die niemand kennt. Ziffern so groß, dass sie nur noch Raum ausdrücken. Den Kosmos. Ist er eingenickt? Vielleicht auch nicht. Er öffnet die Lider. Es dämmert. Draußen verdickt sich das Grün endloser Wiesen. In der Ferne kann er 2 kleine funkelnde Silhouetten ausmachen. Das sind Mädchen, die Kühe hüten. Er meint sogar, ihre verwegenen, schier liebestrunkenen Rufe den Raum durchbohren zu hören. Mädchen 1. Hoi, Helena, weiden Sie schön? Mädchen 2. Sie weiden schön, nur dich kann ich vor weitem nicht sehen. Mädchen 1. Hoi, hoi. Er muss eingeschlummert sein. Als er zu sich kommt, hält der Zug in Warschau. Den Worten eines respektablen Herrn, der vorzüglich Englisch zu sprechen meint, glaubt er entnehmen zu können, dass der Aufenthalt von längerer Dauer sein wird. Das dumpfe Dunkel des Bahnsteigs riecht nach Eisengerümpel, Pisse und Holunder. Dahinter der Mief von gekochtem Kohl aus einer abgelegenen Speisewirtschaft. Vorsichtig verlässt er die stickige Winterhöhle des Abteils und taucht ein in die undurchdringliche, von spärlich schwachen Lichtern gesprenkelte Finsternis der fremden Metropole. David Bowie verliert sich in der Dunkelheit des Bahnhofs. Zugleich steigt aus ihr das Innere einer kleinen Wohnung in einem Plattenbau auf. Ein einziger Raum, in den viele Räume gestopft sind. Die Konturen der hier kumulierten Lebensüberfülle werden sichtbar. Kinderwagen, Roller, Farnkräuter, Kristalle, labile Wäschestapel im Wandschrank, gestaute, ansteckende Gestalten, die des Nachts Ungeheuer gebären. Dieser Saustall spricht nicht schlechthin für die Schlampigkeit der Bewohner. Er dürfte eher ein Zeichen für die Vielzahl der miteinander unvereinbaren Interessen und Funktionen sein, für die diese Stube als Bühne und Lagerraum herhalten soll. Schlitten, Saftpresse, Weggläser, am Kleiderständer neben der Lammfelljacke und den Duffelcoats der Kinder eine Milizmütze mit Streifen. Auf Yogi-Sofas schlummern mit ausgebreiteten Ärmchen die Kinder. Auf der Schlafcouch wälzt sich schlaflos unter der Reproduktion eines Gemäldes von Wipianski Polizeizugführer Wojciech Krantek. Die Putzfrau, Anastasia Wojciuk, im Weiteren Frau Nastka genannt, geht mit einem Eimer über die Bühne. Sie ist eine Figur, die nicht ganz in diese Wirklichkeit gehört. Sie ist ein Teil von ihr, steht aber auch daneben. Leicht transzendent, real und doch fähig, durch Wände zu gehen. Sie trägt eine nach Schweiß riechende Nylonschürze und Turnschuhe mit Korksohle. Impfnarben zeichnen ihre schwammigen Arme wie geheimnisvolle Runen, Schatzkarten. Ihr Gang ist träge, eher ein Wanken. Sie seufzt und blinzelt träge, schaut sich auch die Gegenstände an und schimpft, murmelt etwas wie alles durcheinandergebracht und rumgeschmissen. Sie holen's raus und tun es nicht zurück. Kein Respekt, nie Ordnung gelernt. Haben einfach von allem zu viel, das ist es. Uns ging das anders. Ein kleiner Stock, ein Knopf, eine Glasscherbe, schon war das Kind weg und spielte. Wir wurden geschlagen, aber wir wussten warum. Wir bettelten darum, noch mehr geschlagen zu werden. Heutzutage hier gibt's alles nur im Überfluss. Alles liegt nur rum. Vielleicht lässt sie auch die ein oder andere Sache mit abergläubischem Seitenblick in ihre Schürzentasche gleiten. Zugführer Wojciech Krantek sieht sie nicht. Er ist ein Mann von Anfang 30, nach damals gängigen Maßstäben gut aussehend. Schnauzbart, passend zum gestreiften Pyjama. Seine weit geöffneten Augen glänzen im Dunkel. Metaphysische Qual mischt sich darin mit ganz physischer, körperlicher Gereiztheit. Neben ihm seine Ehefrau. Der Zugführer zieht zum Abbau seiner Unruhe vielleicht sogar den Verkehr mit ihr in Erwägung. Sie jedoch schläft wie eine Tote. Ihr fett mit Creme bestrichenes Gesicht leuchtet in übernatürlichem Seidenglanz. Der Zugführer begnügt sich damit, sich an ihrer Seite hin und her zu wälzen und dabei zu stöhnen wie jemand, der seine Wut an einem Stein auslässt oder durch hochgezogene Brauen und vernehmliche Seufzer einen Fels bewegen will, ein Lebenszeichen von sich zu geben. Ganz offensichtlich will ihn etwas zerreißen, lässt ihm keine Ruhe. Etwas ist in ihm zerbrochen, ob Kratzer oder tiefe Wunde, es quält, juckt, verlangt nach Artikulation. Der Zugführer steht auf, langt nach den Zigaretten, wirft einen anklagenden Blick auf die Schornsteine und Neonlichter vor dem Balkonfenster, die da durch die finstere Gelatine der Mainacht leuchten. Schließlich knipst er eine kleine Lampe an und setzt sich an den Klappstuhl, beginnt ungelenk in die Tasten der Schreibmaschine zu hauen, eine Zigarette nach der anderen aus der Packung zu klopfen, sie aufzurauchen und dann achtlos in dem kolossalen Kristallaschenbecher zu zerdrücken. Er ist ein ungeübter, dafür glühender Schreiber.
It is a funny mixture actually in this play or in this novel because it can be very comical in the situations and there's much of irony in it and there's very dramatic scenes and constellations on the other side, this misogyny you mentioned and so on. So which side on these 70s were you more interested in when you were writing the text?
What you said is my usual cocktail of moods. So I think it's just there is I think it's just like this. This is how life is, in my opinion.
Okay.
Dramatic and ridiculous.
I know what you brought with you, and I think you have to show us and to explain a little bit what it means.
Yeah, I really. It was a difficult task to figure out what to bring as a souvenir. Actually, souvenir in Polish is a very, very 70s word. It means some kind of elaborate way to say a gift, a very elegant one. So I brought, as a souvenir, some mushrooms, Swiss mushrooms. I brought them because I thought, actually I went to Chicago in May, and I think this was when this play with this catchy title and play that seemed very universal to me turned out to be completely untranslatable, culturally untranslatable. And after every single spectacle, we had a talkback. And the main subject of it were mushrooms. What are mushrooms? There is this very exposed motif of mushrooms that are produced by one of the characters. Produced because this kind of not forest mushrooms were planted in 70s as a new meat, and it was so-called private initiative. I think that these of you who grew up in former communist countries know well the idea of jarskie jedzenie, which is an old school way to say vegetarianism, which was quite popular in the years of shortage of meat. And this was what American audience couldn't understand, and and every single evening I had to explain what mushrooms are, because their main association were psychedelic mushrooms.
Yeah, of course.
So when Isabel came up with this idea of souvenir, it was my practically only idea. and I also thought that there is a bridge with Switzerland, because these are Swiss mushrooms that they bought in Coop, in Zug. So, yes, and Isabel also suggested that they can decay in a very interesting way, so it's this is not only a Swiss artifact, but also it works in time. So.
And we all wonder how they will going to find their way to Stuttgart.
Yes, this is what is interesting. Yes, they will work on the
The funny thing is, I like it very much because your memory is a memory out of a time you didn't live in because you're too young for it, but you lived in because you were writing the book. So that's
yeah,
it's
exactly.
a very good way to see it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Edo, you're a bit doyen here of you three, the senior, but doyen is much nicer in French.
What does it mean? Explain.
You're kind of Croatian writer, of course, but you're a Yugoslavian writer in some way
Yes.
as well. You were born in Bosnia, even I didn't know that before. I just read it now.
Bosnia, Livno, yes,
But
Yugoslavia.
You live in Croatia for a long time. You were
68 I moved.
already active as a war correspondent in the early 90s, which
1995, yes.
Yes, and you're a literary author, of course, since a very, very long time. The first book was this Ponochny Boogie, this Mitternachtsboogie in German, from 87?
87, yes, it was first published, 87.
And you were then also, of course, that connects you a little bit to Dorota,
yeah,
because
that's why
you were
I said
this generation voice, this new voice.
Brutal language, very direct, slang, mixing
That's
different languages.
So
that
there's many
really,
things you have.
Today it would be hard to publish such a prose.
Okay,
you know?
even.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And you're a very prolific author, and there's about a dozen books, I think, even in German.
Yeah.
And most of them are translated by Alida Bremer, who did the last novel as well.
Yes.
You have very different registers used in your career. You're starting from this youth language and this direct
urban style,
urban,
so-called,
yes. But you're always very close to reality, to all sides of reality, of mental states, of social problems, of milieus and so on. So this last, the new novel is in this question. It's not totally an exception, but it is a bit different because it's kind of it's not science fiction, but it's kind of a dystopian future projection of two worlds actually. But you can describe them yourself, maybe.
Yeah, that's the third. That is, namely, second novel in the row, which I changed which I changed the way of writing. Yeah, it is not. The matrix for this novel is one fairy tale. It's Hans Christian Andersen, Snow Queen, Schneekönigin.
Yes.
Yeah, I was fascinated, and I am still fascinated with that story about two sister and brother. And brother was took by evil queen, and the sister is looking after him. Here in this novel, we have two main characters are separated, and they are looking after one after another. The brother knows that he's looking for sister, but sister doesn't know who is he looking for. So it was my. It's just my dedication to the fairy tale, which I like very much. And the other level is, what is happening with us, with this world, with the culture, which I'm concerned. This is the second novel which I wrote about that. This all genetic things, genetic experiments, all this. New mania, everything, I think everything is wrong. That is what I think that, and I'm still interested in it, and I'm still writing about it because it is fascinating to me to find out that people, what we are doing, we are working hard, 8, 10, 12 hours a day to buy a lot of things that we don't need at all. We are surrounded, by things, by I don't know what, by furniture, by books, by plates, everything. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, my smarter part of meine Frau, we were starting to counting what do we have in our flat and we don't need. And it was a disaster when we find out what all we have, what we have pill, and we cannot breathe, inside. And then we start. That was the turning point. We are not collecting things. We are just getting rid of the things that we don't need, and everything what we need is really one can put in the backpack of 45 liters, for example. That is everything what is needed, and that's what I'm concerned about that, and that's basically what I'm writing about also in this novel.
There's much of this existential philosophy in some way in this novel, of course. Because we have this small community somewhere living closely, for themselves. And you think when you start reading, that's kind of a paradise world, living like in former times, doing everything themselves and so on. But the end is a bit different. We're not going to spoil the rest of the story. But there is this biological, technical science fiction part in it as well. And the moment where this Mila is her name starts Mila, to look for something else, and that's the beginning of the whole evolution of the plot afterwards. Who scrambled afterwards these frontiers between these borders between the two worlds, and we're going to read this passage, I think. Yeah. And you start.
I'll try
Croatian.
Yeah. I don't have it. No. That's the difference between the generation. I'm reading it for printed because I didn't bring the book, Croatian book. It's talking about my age. When they asked me, when I received the first email from Landis and Gear, I thought that there was someone is joking with me. I thought, why would anybody ask the old guy to come to write somewhere? You know, I thought that these residences are for young people, for middle age. But why should anyone
take it as a compliment?
Yeah. Okay. So I was not quite sure if someone is joking or it is a real. So this is, okay, I will read really short because we are short with time. Mila je bez nekog entuzijazma prolazila kroz laboratorije Salarlaba. Nikakvo oduševljenje u njoj nisu izazivale bijele ostaklene prostorije osvjetljene snažnom svjetlošću s bijelim ormarima, hladnjacima i stolovima na kojima su se nalazile dosadne bijele naprave. S bijelim policama punim staklenih i plastičnih posuda, s ljudima u bijelim kutama. O, kako sranje, mislila je. Zašto sam uopće dopustila da me dovuku u ovu sterilnu pustoš? Samo su plave plastične kape na glavama zaposlenika i plave rukavice na njihovim rukama davale tu nešto živosti. Nijedan cvijet, nikakvu biljku Mila nije vidjela ovdje. Ljudi koji su tu radili očito nisu mogli smisliti prirodu. Nije bilo čak ni sjena.
Vielleicht muss man wissen, Mila ist die Tochter des Besitzers der Firma, eines der reichsten Personen dieser normalen Welt, der das Labor gehört. Und ihr hat man immer gesagt, sie hätte gar keine Mutter.
Ja,
das ist
sozusagen. Ja, that is the society which some society, you know, they are different from the others because they have many money or they are all driving like in Zug, this Tesla thing and everything, you know. But in this case, the difference is the families without mother.
Okay.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, please.
Ohne jeglichen Enthusiasmus ging Mila durch die Labore von Salarlab. Die weißen, verglasten Räume, erleuchtet von hellem Licht, die weißen Schränke, Kühlschränke und Tische mit langweiligen weißen Geräten darauf, die weißen Regale voller Glas- und Plastikschüsseln, die Menschen in weißen Kitteln, all das rief überhaupt keine Begeisterung in ihr hervor. Was für eine Scheiße, dachte sie. Warum habe ich es zugelassen, dass er mich in diese sterile Ödnis verschleppt? Nur die blauen Plastikmützen auf den Köpfen und die blauen Handschuhe an den Händen der Angestellten sorgten für etwas Lebendigkeit. Mila sah keine Blume, keine Pflanze. Die Menschen, die hier arbeiteten, konnten offenbar die Natur nicht ertragen. Hier gab es nicht einmal Schatten. Milas Vater war seinen Geschäften nachgegangen, nachdem er einen jungen Biotechnologen gebeten hatte, ihr die Labore zu zeigen. Herr Popović, würden Sie bitte. Und der Biotechnologe Popović widmete sich also der Aufgabe. Er führte Mila durch das Forschungszentrum, wobei er sie ununterbrochen seine Begeisterung für all das, was sie ihr zeigte, spüren ließ. Doch in seinen Augen konnte Mila die Begeisterung nicht erkennen. Wenn er sie anblickte, waren seine Augen leer. Die Leidenschaft, mit der er sprach, war aufgesetzt, künstlich, wie die synthetischen Stimmen in der Straßenbahn und in den Einkaufszentren. Das hier ist das zytogenetische Labor, erzählte er, in dem die Chromosomen ausgezählt werden sozusagen. Jeder Mensch hat 2 Sets von je 23 Chromosomen, 23 von seinem leiblichen Elternteil und 23 von seinem Pflegeelternteil. Was die Chromosomen sind? Nun, wenn Sie die Genetik als Buch des Lebens begreifen, wenn Sie mir erlauben, mich derart altmodisch auszudrücken, dann stellt die DNA die Buchstaben dar, die Gene wären die Worte und die Chromosomen die Kapitel. Haben Sie das nicht in der Schule gelernt? Ach so, das hat Sie nicht interessiert. Nun gut, wir müssen ja nicht alle dieselben Interessen haben. Wo kämen wir denn dahin, wenn alle Interesse an der Zytogenetik hätten? Nirgendswohin, wir würden auf der Stelle treten. Irgendjemand muss sich ja auch für Molekulargenetik interessieren und so weiter. Sie sehen später auch die anderen Labore. Während Mila ihn ansah, versuchte sie, sich ihn irgendwo außerhalb eines Labors vorzustellen. Wie er sich in einem Park sonnt oder wie er zu Hause genussvoll Musik hört oder wie er eine Frau küsst. Doch es gelang ihr nicht. Der Biotechnologe Popović schien aus dem Boden des Labors gesprossen zu sein. Er war nur denkbar innerhalb des Gebäudes des Forschungszentrums. Nur hier konnte er atmen, essen, schlafen, sich erregen. Besonders künstlich war seine Erregung vor einem Panzerglas, hinter dem sich ein weiterer Haufen hässlicher und langweiliger Geräte und Schüsseln befand. Mein Gott, was für ein Gerümpel, dachte Mila. Wenn ich es so ausdrücken darf, das hier ist der Höhepunkt unserer Arbeit. Hier werden, vereinfacht gesagt, die Embryonen designt, aus denen fehlerfreie Babys entstehen. Auch sie sind in einem vergleichbaren Labor hergestellt worden. Hergestellt? Unterbrach ihn Mila. Wollen Sie behaupten, dass ich ein Klon bin? Nein, lachte Herr Popović. Wir sind leider noch weit entfernt von einer sicheren Klonierungstechnologie, doch die Genetik hat seit ihrer Entstehung Fortschritte gemacht. Sie haben vermutlich von Moores Gesetz gehört, nachdem man alle 2 Jahre für dieselben Kosten doppelt so viele Systemstrukturen gewinnen kann, die zudem doppelt so schnell sind. Noch nie davon gehört? Interessant. Wie auch immer, in Ihrem Fall handelt es sich um eine, nennen wir es einmal so, Vorsichtsmaßnahme. Einige Eizellen der Empfängerin wurden mit den Spermien ihres Vaters befruchtet und als die Eier sich zu jeweils 8 Zellen geteilt hatten, wurden sie von unseren Computern eingehend untersucht. Das beste befruchtete Ei wurde ausselektiert und daraus sind Sie, entschuldigen Sie, wo sind hier die Lagerräume? Die Lagerräume? Ja, die Lagerräume für das genetische Material. Oder wie nennen Sie die Menschen, die Sie hierher bringen und an denen Sie Ihre Experimente durchführen? Und er hatte gedacht, dass sie gekommen war, um die Labore zu bewundern. So etwas haben wir hier nicht, antwortete er kalt. Haben Sie nicht? Haben wir nicht. Und dann sagte Mila, warum sie hierher gekommen war. Können Sie mir vielleicht meine Mutter zeigen? Fragte sie und schaute ihm dabei so durchdringend in die Augen, dass er seinen Blick nicht abwenden konnte. Er stand wie erstarrt da. Volltreffer, ging es Mila durch den Kopf. Sie haben keine Mutter, sagte er, nachdem er mit der Zunge seine Lippe befeuchtet hatte. Ich habe keine Mutter? Sie haben mich aus der Rippe meines Vaters und einer Handvoll Lehm hergestellt? Nein, es gibt da auch Eizellen, sagte der Biotechnologe Popović, der inzwischen seinen ganzen Enthusiasmus eingebüßt hatte. Und Sie haben sie erfunden und hergestellt. Mila ließ nicht locker. Also diese Eizellen mit allem Drum und Dran. Nein, da gibt es auch noch die Empfängerin. Dann zeigen Sie mir doch die Empfängerin. Ist sie immer noch hier oder haben Sie sie abgeschrieben? Während sie durch den langen, leeren Flur in Richtung Ausgang liefen, konnte Mila nicht sehen, dass der Biotechnologe eifrig mit seinem Handy hantierte, und das interessierte sie auch nicht. Sie hatte ihn nichts weiter gefragt. Ihr war die fanatische Treue der Angestellten gegenüber der Firma Sala Lab bekannt. Sie hatte von ihren Gruppenseancen gehört, von ihrem Teambuilding und ihren Life-Coaches. Teambuilding, Life-Coach, die großen Worte verursachten bei ihr nur Gänsehaut. Und jene alltäglichen Seancen, die im Konferenzraum stattfanden, endeten stets mit dem frenetischen Skandieren von Sa La Lab, Sa La Lab. Mila empfand eine starke Abneigung gegenüber den Freunden ihres Vaters. Und dieses Gefühl übertrug sich häufig auch auf die Angestellten des Forschungszentrums. Der Club der Schleimer meines Papas, so nannte sie Mila insgeheim. An diesen Menschen vermisste sie das, was die lebende von der nicht lebenden Materie unterscheidet. Als wäre das Leben in ihnen abgestorben und nur ein Todeskampf zurückgeblieben. Diese Menschen lebten in ständiger Verkrampfung. Ähnlich empfand Mila gegenüber ihrem Vater und seinen Freunden. Immer waren sie hinter etwas her. Immer waren sie angespannt. In ihnen lebte alles Mögliche, nur nicht das Leben selbst. In ihrer Gesellschaft unterhielt man sich vorwiegend über das Nichtlebende, darüber, was sie besaßen oder noch besitzen würden, über Kaufen und Verkaufen, über Geld, Aktien und die Börse, über neue Hormone, die noch perfektere Menschen erschaffen würden und niedrigen Wuchs, Krummbeinigkeit, Buckel, Glatzen, Falten und andere Krankheiten oder Fehlbildungen verhindern und die Kurse der Sala Lab-Aktien in unermessliche Höhen treiben würden. Und dann wieder über Kaufen und Besitzen. Mila konnte sich kein größeres Missvergnügen vorstellen als jene zum Glück seltenen Stunden, in denen sie gezwungen war, mit den Freunden ihres Vaters an einem Tisch zu sitzen, bei Empfängen und Abendessen, zu denen er einlud. Warum waren diese Menschen so? Was hat sie aus dem Leben vertrieben?
This is the one side of this book, this hyper clean world. On the one side, there are other worlds in it as well, and it's the pessimistic side of the book, as I see it, is that every world is a little bit built on lies, actually, and the optimistic part of the book is that it has this power of this critical power of telling stories and showing people looking for the authentic and another reality, which is great. I think I don't know how many things are left in your household to give away, but did you find a souvenir as well?
Yes. We don't have a Fernseh TV, for example, for 15 years. But this is something, it was really very hard to find something when Isabel told me about this, and I think what souvenir in Croatian is a funny word. It always reminds me of those kitschy souvenirs from 70s, 80s, you know, wooden donkeys. That is all over the coast. They were sold, or wooden also, wooden roda. Oh. Stork. Yeah. That is a souvenir.
Actually, this is a souvenir as well. This one is a souvenir.
This one, at least, is I made it myself. I cut it myself, and I walk, I think, 7-8 years with this stick all around. It is. I'm not quite sure, but I think that it is from Weisdorn. I think there is another one which I made also from Asche, and this one, I think Asche is a little bit. It's pale. It's a light color. This is I think Weisdorn, and it is. I like it very much. Really, it was also with me here in the mountains last time. It was with me in Flungsberg, the open. On 2,000 and something meters, so it was very good companion and kumpel from here. I will miss him, but I will gladly leave it here as a souvenir. Yeah, there is no need, you know. It's not funny.
That's great.
It's not funny to give away something which you don't like or you hate. So this is one which I gave from all my heart.
What could be more authentic, more real than wood? Weisdorn is very healthy for your heart, you know. So that's it's great. It's great.
And it can be used against vampires. So
yeah, comes in handy.
Yeah, it is very, very, very. Yeah.
Okay. Isabel, we're a little bit late, but it started a bit late. Is there a minute for a question to the audience? Because one or two. Does anybody of you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much for this interesting conversation. I would like to ask a question to Zoltán Danyi. You talked about lies, and talking about fiction, I was wondering, what do you mean by lies? I mean, fiction and lies, and I mean, it's kind of connected sometimes. And what do you mean by you don't want to write lies in a novel?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a nice question, and it's straight to the point. As I mentioned, I had difficulties in finding help in literature when I was writing my novels, and I had to find, but I was trying to find some help. I needed some help, and this was which I got from music. Music is a huge contributor to my writing, and another help came from, quite surprisingly for me, came from performance art. And that's where my answer would be, that performance art sometimes also takes big risks. And if you compare it to theater, then you will understand what I mean. In theater, you play a scene without risks. Everything is following a scenario. Whereas in performance art, sometimes you really risk your either health or, in extreme cases, your life as well. And I'm sure that many of you know Marina Abramović, who's a performance artist from Yugoslavia, living in the United States. And she said once that the difference between theater and performance art is that in theater, when you see blood, it's paint. But in performance art, when you see blood, it's real blood. And this was a challenge for me. Whenever I hear something like that, whenever I hear something like that, I try to find out, how can I do this in writing? And this was something I was trying to do. How can I write about blood and make it real blood, not fiction?
Okay. One last question, maybe?
Thank you very much. I have a question to Ms. Masłowska, actually, because I'm a big fan. My friend says I'm a psycho fan, actually. I hope he means it as a joke. And I'm following her development as an author since years. And I feel like your language has changed a lot and is changing, is evolving. In my opinion, it got more dense, so you are expressing more with less words. It got maybe more subtle also, less aggressive. And I would like to know to what extent this evolution comes from a topic about subject about which you are currently writing, and to what extent it's a sign of development of you as a person or as an author. So what comes first, the topic, what you're writing, or you and the changes which come up in you?
Nice to meet Psychofan. I agree, totally. I agree that my language that at the very beginning of my work used to be very flamboyant and spontaneous and full of garbage along to that, because I just wrote, not sculpting, not getting rid of things that were not necessary. It was just a very feverish, spontaneous stream of consciousness, and this was my method, or rather lack of method. And now I think that after 20 years of many different experiments with language and style, I feel more like I became a poet which is paradoxical because this is how I started. To be perfectly sincere, I started I dreamt to be a poet, but I didn't succeed. My poems were not good. This is why I started to write prose, and now I feel more like, yes, exactly as you said. I feel that my obsession is to condensate the text, to use as less words as possible, as little words as possible, just to maximize the density of text. And even today, when I was writing unexpectedly, because this was me, I realized how many words I used to need and how little words I use now to express something. So this is a question. I think it's a question of practice that made it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Zoltán, Dorota, Edo, for your openness, readiness to give you some insights in your work, in your way you're looking at literature, at your literature, and at memories. And thank all the people who came here to listen. And yes, thank you. Have a good evening.
Ja, vielen Dank auch Thomas Grob und miteinander. Ich möchte noch ganz kurz auch was ergänzen, weil es vorher nicht gesagt wurde, weil die Souvenirs nicht hier bleiben. What's happening to the souvenirs? Just for you to know, this is a project of the Netzwerk der Literaturhäuser, and the idea came from the Literaturhaus of Stuttgart. And so there's a series of readings in many cities since last year and this year, and there is like a memory landscape being created. All the objects are photographed and put in a virtual exhibition, and they all will be sent after this night to Stuttgart. So the mannequin beast will dream of Brussels, and the mushrooms will change their shape eventually. And the stick will dream of the mountains and missing walking with Edo. And sometimes next year there's going to be an exhibition of all these souvenirs in Stuttgart. So that's the overall project. And there is a book table outside. You can buy these books. You also can buy the recent books of the author, and the authors will also sign them. I suggest here on stage. So buy the book, come back and read. And thank you for being here this evening.